All right, for more on this and some other hot topics, let's bring in Florida Republican Congressman Michael Waltz, a member of the House Armed Services and Foreign Affairs Committees. I mean, as Jennifer said, we thought that Prigozhin's days might have been numbered, but this wasn't too subtle.
Yeah, John, right? Surprise, surprise. If you cross Putin, don't fire your food taster, don't stay in a high-rise hotel, and apparently don't fly private in Russia. But listen, make no mistake, this was intended to send a signal across the Russian military, number one. And number two, we still can't count out the Wagner capability, that mercenary capability that Putin's using in Africa right now.
Yeah, well, we'll see what the fallout from this is, if any, because we do know that a lot of people were still loyal to Prigozhin, and clearly Putin didn't want him around much longer. I want to go to the debate tonight because you're there in Milwaukee. Your colleague, Congressman Mike Gallagher, had an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal yesterday in which he said what he really wants to hear tonight is the candidates talk more about China. He said, quote, "The best policies to address the Chinese Communist Party's threat to the U.S. and promote peace in the Indo-Pacific will determine who passes the commander-in-chief test. For Republican candidates struggling in Mr. Trump's shadow, this is the best opportunity to differentiate themselves." What do you think about that? Do you want to hear a lot about China tonight?
I do, John, because if you listen to Chairman Xi, who's openly talking about war with the West, telling his country to prepare for war, the next commander-in-chief could be a wartime president, and God help us if it's Joe Biden. But here's the thing I want to hear. There's the military aspect, of course, but really I think this is going to be won or lost with China economically. President Trump started a huge first step with the tariffs on steel and on aluminum. But when we talk about Wall Street, academia, when we talk about the NBA and decoupling, how are these candidates actually going to do that when so many aspects of America are drunk on Chinese dollars?
Yeah, you know, right now in South Africa, and we've been showing some pictures of this in the screen next to you, is the so-called BRICS summit, which includes the nations of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. It's a rival organization to the G7, I guess is the best way you could put it. They want to replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency. Xi Jinping wants to expand this group. Is the Biden administration doing enough to counter what's going on there in South Africa?
Well, not yet. That said, John, I was just in India literally last week, and I got to tell you, that is the most critical geostrategic relationship of the 21st century. They now have a population larger than China, yet their economy is only a third the size. They want to partner more with us. They're buying more of our defense equipment, whether it's IT, space, pharma. There is a lot of upside there. There's 800 million Indians online. So I want to see that relationship get tighter. The thing that we have are allies and partners, and that's the thing the Chinese don't have. They're pushing people towards us, which is a good thing. But again, what kind of understanding do we have on the stage of these complex geostrategic relationships? What do they understand about our trade relationships, how we're going to decouple, who we're going to partner with? I agree with Rep. Gallagher. That's what we need to hear tonight. That's going to be the true true test for the next commander-in-chief.
All right, we'll see if we do. Curiously, Xi Jinping was supposed to give a keynote address at the BRICS summit. He didn't make it to that speech. His commerce minister read out the speech, so we don't know what's going on there. But I want to finish you quickly by asking about this. The Inspector General at the DOJ, Michael Horowitz, who we know is a tough, as independent as you can be investigator, has told three committees in Congress that he may not be able to investigate these whistleblower allegations of impropriety at the DOJ and the Hunter Biden investigation, saying that he may need to turn that part of the investigation over to the Office of Professional Responsibility at the DOJ. And so the question a lot of people have is, if the Inspector General can't investigate the DOJ, who really can?
Yeah. So here's the two big questions I have, and what's so odd about this. He's saying it may exceed his jurisdiction. Does that mean it's because the White House is involved or the IRS, other agencies? And then the other piece, and here's why this might be a masterstroke for Biden, to make Weiss, the U.S. attorney who gave Hunter that sweetheart deal, now the independent special prosecutor, is it allows him to sit this thing, the Hunter investigation, under investigation in perpetuity. And what we were hearing from folks like the IG is, well, I can't give you information on that because it's under investigation. So they've sat on it the last 5 years, and now they'll be able to sit on it past the 2024 election, perhaps. But I know Jim Jordan, Jamie Comer, and Congress are on top of this. But I think at the end of the day, this was a move to be able to hide the whole thing from Congress. And once again, we have a miscarriage, a travesty of justice going on here.
And some legal analysts are saying that the longer this stays under investigation, the more the statute of limitations on these issues starts to run out.
That's right.
Michael Waltz, Congressman,
the ones
good to
that
talk
haven't
to you.
already run out. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Good to talk to you.
John.
Enjoyed the debate tonight. Appreciate you coming on.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.